Welcome, beloved roses, to my covenant. My covenants with each of you, individually and collectively, will not rest until the truth is actualized and demonstrated through each of you. My covenants will not rest until once again upon this earth, for truly it has been 2,000 years since the last time it occurred. God, individualized, infinite in all purpose and being, realized, actualized, and demonstrated through, in, and as the life of Jesus the Christ. My covenants with you will not rest until this is your truth, until this is your experience. God bless you, and thank you for your presence at Covenant. Please, make yourself comfortable. Some opening, important matters at hand. To begin with, a group affirmation of forgiveness, a willingness to place our right palm over our hearts and to close our eyelids and just imagine for a moment the hundreds and perhaps thousands and maybe even tens of thousands of people that you have met that have crossed your path. And now with as much heart like a willow that will bend her branches deep into the earth. A whisper to oneself, internalizing to oneself. My heart has grown. I have grown. And in this moment, in the presence of other roses, I forgive. I forgive anyone and everyone who has ever harmed me. I forgive them unconditionally. And with that forgiveness, this too means that I shall hold no resentment to others. As I whisper this truth to myself, it is a whispering message of truth, of affirmation of where I stand, that shall ripple through my being and all worlds, all times that I have entered into this world. This I do for my freedom. This I do for the freedom of every other rose. For together, we are a rose family. We have been called. Whether we consciously know it or not, we have been called. We have been called by Jesus the Christ himself. We have been called by Mother Akasha. And we have answered. And a destiny is before us now. Resurrection. Deep breath. Next. With my heart and with my soul, which is universal, and the assistance of the all-seeing eye of God, I see, and I ask your faith in what I see, regardless of the appearances that may yet be in your life. I see that the fragmented sense of self, the human self, that you have experienced centuries after centuries, the meltdown has begun. As you study in my Tree of Life class, the mind will not make choices of its own. And as you gather spiritual truths that I teach in the Tree of Life class that are intended to be your rock, your foundation, yet for a while, many of those spiritual truths are intended to be intellectually applied, in which you are telling your mind something new. And over, and as the heart and the meditations come in, it will not be long before you will not have to tell your mind these truths. Rather, they begin to be operational in your life. In November 2014, I began the current studies of the Tree of Life that you have been studying. And yet, in many discourses, thousands actually, over and over has come the message. 1999, 2002, 2004, workshops in Edmonton, workshops in Calgary, and so forth. Over and over the message. There is only one presence, there is only one power, there is only one intelligence. Because the mind that you have used has been in this matrix 700, 800, 900 times, the mind has become hypnotized and convinced that there are many powers. And the mind sees that people lose lives. Lives are destroyed by the seeming powers that are in the world. You study. You have great realizations. You have taken things in. You are well on your journey of mastering your mind. You know well enough. And maybe once in a while, you have to remind yourself to be careful about what you are focusing upon. Because if you focus upon something long enough and intensely enough, which brings the feeling side up, what will happen? You will attract what you are focusing. Today, you have such greater mastery. We are at the beginning of the end stage where we must keep telling ourselves, telling our mind the truth. I know it seems otherwise, but the truth is, God is the only power. That is the truth. A 150 human selves in this room. Little eyes. And yet all of these 150 little eyes now know the truth. And I have often begged your forgiveness because I feel a necessity to repeat myself until you're living the truth, right? So as much as there are 150 little eyes in this room, we are together, we're going to tell our mind something. We are going to tell our mind the truth. And we're going to do it collectively. It is a covenant that you made, that you would not only stand for the petal of the rose that you are, that you would stand in equality for every other petal of the rose, for you are one cosmic rose. And let's, because you're in the matrix, and by now, I am sure that anything the world can teach you, you've been there. I'm sure in the hundreds of lifetimes you have reached heights of success that others were jealous of. I am sure in lifetimes you have lost everything. I am sure you have faced everything in the matrix. It is up to you whether you choose to agree with me that as far as the matrix, all the duality, all these false sense of selves, and you know that now because you're partially awakened, I have nothing further to learn from. Do I agree with this? Yes. Absolutely. Yet, are you still learning wisdom? Let's say it in my terms. How to be in the matrix, but not of the matrix, and not controlled by the matrix. Yes? The more we know the truth, the deeper that truth enters our being. Meditation becomes the open door in which God seeks to actualize those truths in the lives that we have been given. Will you serve in the next minute or two not only yourself with the truth, but are you willing to serve everyone in this room? Yes. Then let's acknowledge what is in the matrix. Yes, 150 little selves, 150 people that are seeking the truth, discovering the truth, applying the truth, and are in the process of melting away this false sense of self, that the true self may emerge. Are we in agreement with this? Yes. So yes, in this moment, we may be aware of fellow roses that are in the room here. Maybe one rose is stricken with arthritis, appearance yet to be overcome. Maybe another rose is having difficulties in other ways. But let's together, let us know the truth. that in my covenant here this weekend, let us know the truth of each other. Glance at each other for a moment in silence. Just turn your heads and glance at each other. And as you're glancing at each other, listen to me. Listen, that you know the truth now. You know the truth about everyone here. Whether God is demonstrating that yet, that's not important. What is important is that you know the truth. And the truth is that God is appearing as the infinite individual beingness. This is the real identity of everyone in this room. Yes. So, shall I let my sight betray me? Or can we take a step up? Because the change is going to happen. It is going to happen. Where one day you will see perfectly through one eye, and through the other eye you will see the imperfections in this world, exactly as it was with Jesus. So you have to start teaching yourself, don't get pulled in, don't get fooled by the imperfections. What would the matrix, what would the world love to do at this point in your evolution? Pull you right back in. Right back in. You got to stay in the matrix. The matrix is controlling the planet. You are cosmic implants. Yes. I addressed you several times. I addressed you all in Delphi. I addressed you all 47,000 years ago when we called you all to Shambhala. I addressed you all about the time that would come, the seasons of lives that you would live through, and the time that we would come in which your final training. This is not the beginning. You've been training for several lifetimes. But this is your final training in which all secrets about the truth of you are revealed, and by your effort and by cosmic intervention, the truth of you is not only revealed, it emerges. And this covenant, I qualify that through the studies, the teachings, the meditations, the decrees, the fellowship with each other, going off and having lunches and suppers with each other, sharing in each other's rooms, I qualify every moment of this weekend as an opportunity for God, your true spiritual identity, to emerge and actualize and demonstrate in ways that are absolutely unmistakable. This is our qualification for this weekend. I thank you. Last duty. Hands over our inner golden sun's presence. A message to myself. A message that you are going to give yourself. Okay? 100% willing? Yes. That's a lot of faith about what I'm about to say. A message to myself. You do this inwardly. I have a message for myself. And the very first thing I want to say to you, thank you. Thank you for showing up. You could have been just like every other person in this world. In fact, it might have been easier. But life And what seems normal in the world is fraught with things that are so unexpected. And so I say to myself, thank you. Thank you for hearing the call. Thank you for finding a way of being interested in God once again, in life, in truth. Thank you for all the effort that you're making to fulfill God's divine plan for you and for the life that you've been given. Thank you. I love you. And I am always here for you. Deep breath. Remarkable. As all weekends have come to be, yet each one fashioned with that breath of uniqueness, and each of you contribute to that uniqueness. My goodness, I say to you, my beloved children, I am the most blessed mother in the universe to have all of you as my children. I truly thank you. More and more, a son makes me aware of the pressures of the outer world. And if I had a heart that could break, it would break my heart. But fortunately for me, and maybe fortunately for you, my heart can't break. It can only keep growing, because the more you love, the more my heart loves. I thank you. I am Akasha. Let our covenant begin.